Kazaa, we're live. What's
We're
up?
back.
Yeah, it's Modern Relics
Dang.
Podcast.
It
Finally,
is. Sorry.
mostly my fault.
Well, I mean, the week before,
Yeah,
we both had obligations, and we both had obligations that we needed to kind of handle. And then last week we were ready to go. We had a whole series of notes and everything, and we had a systems failure crash. So like we tried, we were sitting here for what, like an hour,
probably an hour.
hour plus. Yeah,
Yeah.
like sitting here trying to get on air, guys, and we just couldn't do it. And it was due to updates, like a bunch of updates on Angel's End, of all the systems in a perfect storm all needing updates at the same time, and it screwed up our the way that we build out and the screens and everything. So like
Yeah.
there was just nothing we could do, so we kind of had to scrap it. So apologies, but we're back and we're here for you.
So we are actively hiring a producer for the show now. For the exquisite cost of a firm handshake, it will be what we pay you. And our deepest heartfelt thanks every week as we go through this stuff. Brought to you by, we have nobody to bring us to you from, so we're just working. It's digital gangster lifestyle, dude. And sometimes technology happens in the worst possible ways. And unfortunately for me, while it claims to have saved everything in the cloud, I had to rebuild all of it. So good times were had by most, but we're back now.
It looks good. It looks good from what I can tell. Like I'm seeing it, and it looks fine. So.
Nice. Well, that's good news. Yeah, I'm looking at it on the broadcast side of things, and here we are. So what happened, dude? A lot's gone on. You had the missus had a birthday, correct?
She did. Yeah,
and
she did.
You guys
and it went
had a good time.
Significantly better than mine. Yeah. So all that took was just not getting in a car crash on her birthday. That's all it took to have a better birthday than mine. But
we're setting the bar very low.
Right. We
destruction of property, happiness during birthday.
Yes, just right there. But we all pitched in, the kids and I, and actually even Kate's boyfriend. We all pitched in, and with your recommendation, and we got her a new laptop for work, and she was super stoked. But then her and I, we got some food, and then we went up to Silverwood, which is a local theme park up here. I think it's the only one in the Pacific Northwest. It's where my son works. And we took the day to go. We rented one of the cabanas at the water park, and that's the way to go. Like, we've decided we're never going there again without renting one of these cabanas. And so we set up camp in the cabana, which had a fridge and plugins for our phones and towels and chairs and stuff. And then we just drank a bunch of like way too expensive drinks and floated the lazy river for a couple of hours. And then we went back to the cabana, and for the first time in my, I think, life outside of a toddler, I fell asleep at a theme park.
Yeah,
and took a nap.
I've had two people in my life throughout the years reference Silverwood as one of the funnest little Canadian Knott's Berry farms they've ever been to. And I was like,
it is a sister park to Knott's Berry Farm.
It's like, that's pretty accurate, but you weren't in Canada. You're like, yeah, no, we totally were. And I was like, no, you weren't. You were in the tiny little sliver of Idaho, just underneath Canada, but you weren't in Canada. And they're like, I'm pretty sure I was in Canada. I was like, okay.
No, you were in asshole Idaho.
Which they continue to try and fight to rename Aneth, I'm told.
Well, because it's right next to penis.
Yeah.
So
it's factually correct.
Yeah. But actually, you are 2 hours south of the Canadian border, even at that point.
Yeah.
So You're not even near Sandpoint yet, and then there's Bonner's Ferry past that, and then a little bit further. So, yeah, they were terribly wrong.
They weren't even close, but yeah, I've always loved that description. It stuck with me. So you guys got a cabana, you passed out, you were like,
floated the river.
I've made it.
And we rode 2 rides. We rode one ride when we got there before we went to the water park that Oliver was operating, and within their wisdom, they thought it was okay to give that 16-year-old kid like one of the microphone things to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
And then the next, once we got out of the water park, we went to they have a new roller coaster, and it's not super new. It's just new to me because I'd never been on it, but it's called Stunt Pilot. It's their newest roller coaster. And he was operating that one. So we went there and got on that, and that was fun. And then we got off and we're like, you want to do any other rides? She's like, not really. I was like, you want to go get Mexican food? She goes, yep. And so we went and got Mexican food, and she had a great birthday.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, so we are still driving the borrowed Jeep because I still do not have my car back from the 23rd of June.
Oh, no.
And so we are now going into week 5 of me not having my car back. Yeah, apparently, and you informed me that this is actually the case. I thought it was very odd that wheel companies sometimes make wheels that aren't round.
That's true.
And I thought that was their one and only job.
It is,
and that there
in
was
fact.
calibrators and systems testing for safety measures and such. And the one thing that thing is supposed to be, if anything else, is round. So I was told that they got a not round wheel for me. They tried to make it round and it didn't work, so they had to send it back. And then they brought. Apparently, it takes forever to get another one. So we're waiting on that. So yeah,
I've learned a lot about wheels over the years, tinkering with cars, and there are really just a handful of manufacturing locations for wheels, and there are 10x to maybe more than that number of wheel manufacturers in the world. And so most of them are made in the same handful of spots as far as that's concerned, and they just brand them differently and threaten to use cooler alloys and more innovative technology. But a lot of the factory wheels, unless it's like a really desirable sports car, for example, are cast wheels, right? So you have a mold, you pour all the hot molten metal in there, and it's supposed to go through some tolerance checks, but it could be over or underweighted where it wobbles, which is why wheel weights are put on when the tire place puts your tire on. But if it's dented or damaged and it was missed by the factory, that's kind of a boo-boo. More likely than not, the courier that delivered the wheel may have dropped the the pallet with the wheels on it, and it could have been dented or damaged that way too. So it all depends, but it's not uncommon. If you get crafted forged wheels, they're generally very expensive. They're usually only made in like Japan or the United States, and they come at a extremely high cost. And with tariffs being where they are, people are, if you're not paying up the differential to get it over, they're just going to put it on whatever pre-made shipment they had that, like if they have to replace it for you, chances are high you have to wait a long time because they're not going to spend extra money on that. So yeah, it's probably coming over here on a boat, shipping container somewhere, going to be dropped off in Seattle or Los Angeles and then trucked up to where you're at from somewhere in Asia.
And
is what I would guess.
Hopefully they don't dent the second one. So
yeah, man, for sure.
But
so, do they give you a loose ETA, or is it usual car fixing bullshit like I go through where they're like, well, I don't know.
Tomorrow, it was basically that. They said, we're going to try to get it done soon. And so they kind of said between Wednesday and Friday. So that's tomorrow to Friday. But that's what they said last week too. So and the week before. So it was supposed to be done in 2 weeks. It's now going on 5. So But one of the other things that did happen though is last week, my stepbrother Eric from my mom's marriage from the time I was 7 till I was 23. We're technically not stepbrothers anymore because our parents divorced, but he's 3 months younger than I am. And we grew up together. And he has a wonderful family. He still lives in California, albeit he doesn't want to, but he's kind of stuck there. But he has a wonderful family, great wife named Nikki, 4 amazing kids. And we don't see them very often because he is a workaholic and doesn't like to leave or see people because he's grumpy like I am. But they came up for Nikki's mom, apparently, or grandmother actually lives up here. And she was having a 90th birthday party. So they decided to surprise her and come up, and it was all but the eldest child came, and then the middle child came for a shorter period and left. But two of the boys, and then Eric and Nikki, and they were staying up at my sister Laura's house, and we got to get together on I want to say it was Monday night, and we had such a great time. I brought pictures. We went over tons and tons of stories of growing up together. And, the wives are listening to me and Eric kind of like tell all these fun stories and corroborate things that they thought were kind of crazy stories. And then when they hear, oh, no, that actually happened. And in fact, let me add some details. So it was fun. The kids got to hear more dad lore, which they love hearing. But my mom actually came up, and she hadn't actually seen Eric since before the divorce, which was 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so she hadn't met any of his kids, like anything like that. And so it was a pretty big deal, and they got along famously, and it was really cathartic and healing for everybody to see each other. And we had a really good time. So that was a huge highlight of the last couple weeks. We all kind of talked about it days on end afterwards, kind of going, man, that was really cool. That was really fun. So we're trying to get them to move up here because they'd rather be up here than there, but he's on the brink of retirement, and they still have the youngest is still in school. The other ones are all adults now, but so sooner or later we'll get them up here. But yeah, so that's been my overall last couple of weeks has been pretty much that, besides work, which is work, and it's fine. But you, what about you? Any updates? Any fun things happen or
nothing fun? Lots of crazy. I will probably dedicate an entire podcast to my work over at Redacted once all of this clears itself up. But there's been beyond tumultuous activity going on at Redacted. And it's being fueled by tyranny on one side, and then also incentivizing senior leadership to do nothing about it, like with actual dollars, as they watch their culture and the people that work there burn and wither away. And I am not too far away from burning and withering away along with them. So, yeah, we'll get into it probably when it's appropriate to, and I'll probably release more information there. But your boy's looking for a job for the first time in 13, 14 years. So there's that going on. It's been wild seeing what the job market has turned itself into since the last time I was in that game playing. But other than that, not a whole bunch, just a lot of trying to think through what options are available to me, and how to keep on working toward a way of life and a retirement maybe one day, and hopefully not losing my house in the process because I might not have a job soon. So that's about it. That's been the last 2 weeks of my life, all day, every day for 24 hours of it. So that and technology problems with the broadcast here. So we've seen better days. At least it's not hot out.
Right? I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be down there. I don't know what the forecast is, but I'll be down there. I think the August 21st through the 26th.
Yeah.
So that is your birthday.
It is. Yeah, that happens during that period of time. It is also going to be extraordinarily hot.
right.
Someone asked me what it's like during that period, and I was like, have you ever been cremated before? It's kind of like that, I'd imagine. So yeah, it's going to be really hot, but yeah, I wish I had brighter news for everyone listening. I do have kind of a highlight. I found some V5 core books for Vampire the Masquerade, a cool role-playing game.
Yes, you did.
That you and I used to play. And
That's right.
I have had all of these, like, I don't know. I'm not a big, like, artiste, wear it on my sleeve, like, check me out kind of guy, but I've been writing songs and music forever. And so I've had themes and pieces of stuff historically bouncing around my head for a long time. And when one gets inspired to create a story arc, it's not that hard when you can draw on a ton of different, like, theoretical experiences and songs and, you know, stories that you watch on YouTube or whatever. So I wrote a campaign out of this. I got 5 or 6 core books, I think, for the price of $80 at a local game store that's obviously about to go out of business. And
right down the street from your house.
yeah, because they just had
going out of business.
I don't know, but they had like piles and piles and piles of empty boxes in the center of the store that were like floor to ceiling high, and like one person behind the counter and the other guy like feverishly taking inventory of stuff. And so I don't know if it's like we're going to rotate our whole stock or we're going to go out of business or we're moving or whatever, but it didn't feel like they were sticking around for the long haul, which sucks because it's kind of a cool little store. But
for
anyway,
sure.
yeah, I whipped up a campaign and I think I'm going to take a shot at storytelling one. So it should be fun. At least amidst all this bananas craziness, I'll have somewhat of a creative outlet with some friends, and
that'll be fun.
Yeah. So
I'll be a part of it.
Yeah, that's happened. Other than that, it's kind of the same old. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
No lazy river floating for this guy.
We actually, before the podcast today, Aaron, I got a couple years back, I got Aaron a paddle board for Christmas or her birthday or something. I can't remember, but and she hadn't had a chance to take it out on the water this year. Kate's been out a couple of times with hers, and so Aaron was just like, I want to go to the water. It's hot. It's above 90. I want to go to the water. And I was like, okay. So we actually got up and loaded up a cooler and some snacks and the wagon and some chairs and the pop-up and went down and went to a new spot that they just developed on the river, off of Atlas. And we went down there and it was great. We just hung out. And it was just the two of us. Kids weren't around. Kids were doing their own thing. So just the two of us. And we actually went to the river, hung out, and then came home and I popped on here. But
nice.
Yeah, so it was definitely something that I think she needed, but also I just enjoyed just spending time with her without the distraction of chattery children. So
nice.
But
well,
yeah.
We've had an awful lot go on in the last couple of weeks. It's hard to pick a starting place, but announced months and months ago, but finally kind of making headlines more recently. In-N-Out Hamburger's headquarters is actually going to follow through with what they said last year, and they're leaving California. I think they're going to Tennessee. Does that sound right?
Yes, they are.
Moving the headquarters.
Tennessee.
They're getting the hell out of there. After the entirety of their existence has been there. Yeah.
77 years as a staple in California.
Yeah. And that probably has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people, but I didn't think I'd ever see something like that. But
I think it's actually one of the most significant milestones of the demise of California. I think that there's a lot of things that have happened over the course of the last 10 years that have kind of chipped away at the corners to the point where California has been more or less unlivable for the vast majority of people now. The most beautiful state in the union. It's got every natural resource. It's got everything from beaches to mountains to rivers to deserts to snow to everything in between. California has everything. And people who grew up there have an affinity for it, but are so broken by what they've seen it become over the course, especially of the last 10 years, and more or less what built into what is known as the Newsom regime. But I think that this is more than just a slight impact, such as all of the other, everyone moving to Austin, Texas, and all, like,
Right.
even Tesla and all these other things. I think that this has such a cultural impact, because when people think of California, you think of Hollywood, you think of beaches, you think of, there's a certain criteria, but one of those things in the top 10 of things you think about in California, and I would even almost argue top 5, is In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah,
In-N-Out Burger had,
Foster Freeze.
it's one of the things that has woven itself over 77 years into the fabric of what California is.
Yeah.
And when they can no longer sustain the amazing business that they have produced from that, it's baffling to me that California has allowed itself to get to a point where it is allowing the fundamental bricks of what makes California to leave California. And I think that this has more of an impact to the social aspect, but also the economic aspect of what California is going through. And it's huge. It's huge that they are moving to Tennessee.
Yeah, and the sad part is the aristocracy of California right now is going to see it as just another business that will not earn an exclusion from their taxation warlords, and all the other like impossible reasons that a business can remain open under the laws that they've enacted there, which sucks, because if they give them a break, they'll have to give other California businesses a break, which they're not going to do and have not done. But I think you're right. I think it's kind of synonymous with certainly West Coast culture and principally California, because there weren't very many states that In-N-Out Burgers was in. I mean, they only within the last, I want to say 6-7 years or so, opened one in Oregon, like the center of the state, which is the closest one to you or was. And they've had a couple sprinkled throughout Las Vegas, but Vegas owns the signature of, we've got one of something from everywhere. Like we have a White Castle here, we have an In-N-Out or two here, there's a handful, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you would knock that away, that's kind of been a California staple. That's kind of a California restaurant chain. So it sucks they're going to Tennessee, but good on them for going, I guess. And hopefully it sets a bit of a precedence that, hey man, like there's not a lot more that businesses can take you dishing out in California state, particularly on the taxes side. I mean, they damn near opened a Hollywood satellite here in Las Vegas, and they were shovel ready until they filibustered it at 11:59 the night before the vote for it. So like, I mean, there's even Hollywood almost left. I mean, I don't think it would have been a unanimous departure, but most of the shit would have been done here because they film everything in Vancouver as it is now, because you can get the credits and the tax relief on it. So like California's got to wake up at some point and realize that doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on stupidity is likely not the best way forward economically or otherwise. But here we go. In-N-Out's on its way out. So
yeah, Lindsay Snyder, the CEO, said, yeah, we're giving it a longer runway so that it's smoother for everybody, so they can plan and all that. And we gave them a lot of notice because we love them and we want to make it as easy as possible. But by 2030, we'll close the Irvine office. Now, this is not only for probably taxes and business, but it's also for crime. Like they had to shut down the first In-N-Out ever in Oakland, and it wasn't because of business. It was for safety. Right. And I would imagine that, In-N-Outs are late night spots. And I even noticed the one that in Vegas that is on the Sunset area. I sat outside and talked with the security guard for In-N-Out. Yeah, and that's not even in downtown. That's like on the Henderson side.
The nice side of town, yeah, right.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, I mean, it gets wild. And In-N-Out is not a wild place. It's
hamburgers and chocolate shakes, man.
Yeah.
That's all it does.
But it's crazy that they have been forced into such a situation that I'm sure was not easy. It was probably one of the hardest things that because they are synonymous with California.
Yeah.
So to remove them from, or remove the California from In-N-Out, they know it's going to have a cultural impact not only on California but on the brand. The brand is going to take a hit because they're, anybody from California has a love for it. If you ask anybody who wasn't from California and they go try In-N-Out for the first time, they have a different perspective. They're like, it's okay. But for me, it's the best damn burger on the planet.
Same.
And I love In-N-Out. And
Yeah,
so,
for fast, quick service restaurant food, for hamburgers, it is the crown jewel of QSR burgers. Like, can you get a better pub hamburger that's a half pound thick and whatever with steak fry? Sure. But for a quick service hamburger, it is the crown jewel in my mind. Is In-N-Out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. So, and a lot of people are like, but they don't have it within the DNA of having grown up there, of having it be a part of like a fundamental staple of the identity of California, but also just the taste. And I think the nostalgia of it is all built in to that place. And I think that it's unfortunate that now it's going to have to kind of reinvent itself. You walk into an In-N-Out burger and there's surfboards on every t-shirt. You know, like it's part of the culture of that place.
I mean, maybe it'll be like, some cool historical Nashville landmarks on their shirts now or something. I think besides the branding piece, they do have a unique business opportunity with this move too. They have long been very stringent on, we don't license, you can't franchise one of these things. Their quality standards are held to extraordinarily high regard. They keep everything in-house. They keep everything under wraps, more or less. It's generally a really good place to work. Even
you want to know why they won't allow any of that?
Because they don't want to dilute the value of what their brand holds to the people that recognize it from a sales perspective.
It has more to do with distribution. They do not keep food in the restaurant. So once they close, they don't have food there anymore. They run through it, and then whatever's left gets brought back. They have to have a distribution center within 5 to 10 minute driving of every restaurant.
Yeah.
So that way, and that's why they're so fresh, is because if they run out of food in the middle of the day, they just make a phone call and somebody delivers it to them that day from their distribution house that is within, which is why they can't franchise, and because they need a distribution center within 5 to 10 minute drive of every single one of their restaurants.
Yeah, and there's places that I remember reading about Starbucks once that they stopped doing the eggnog latte, which if you don't like eggnog doesn't mean shit to you, but if you do, it's like, what? Why? And it's because they couldn't maintain the same quality of distributor for their eggnog all over the world. And so they're like, with such varying degrees of quality from the distributors, we just need to remove an item like that from our menu forever so that we can keep consistency. So that is extraordinarily hard for In-N-Out then, if the case is that it has to be fresh like that. So one wonders if they have a chance to expand their distributors, in light of having to move shop. At least the corporate office can be on Mars for what it's worth, but will they continue to open hamburger chains in other spots? Are they going to continue to close them down in California for crime reasons and otherwise, and taxes, and who knows? But
we have two in southern Idaho now, which was mind blowing. So there's one in Boise and one in Meridian, and so which is great. They obviously need to put a distribution center up here, in the northern counties, so that way we can actually get some In-N-Out up here. But we are getting a Five Guys right up the road, so I'm kind of happy about that. But they're all right, But
I'm glad the closest In-N-Out to me is not a super convenient drive, and from where I come from, it's a horrendous driveway to try and get in because you have to come back the other way, and it's right at the mouth of a freeway entrance. So it's like, it's probably better that way, or I'd be there like twice a week. You know what I mean? Where I don't want to cook shit, I'm going to go to In-N-Out,
I swear to God, I eyeball that sunset location every time I drive by it.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah,
Just
maybe
crack
next
the
time.
window and you know.
Yeah. So I drive by it every day coming back from the shop to your house, and it's
Yeah.
like, now next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So
but I get it at least once or twice, at least once every time I'm down there. So
yeah.
but it's something that it's almost like a obligation to heritage to do it, like, no, this is what my people eat, and so
my people.
it's a ceremonial thing.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. What else do we have? This is kind of a fun thing I read. Somebody gifted Gavin Newsom while we're on the California train a handgun.
This is crazy.
And there are, like, Sean Ryan, for example, will occasionally give his guests a handgun from SIG and stuff like that. And basically, we have a report that Gavin Newsom rejected the gift, can't have it because of Gavin Newsom, because his own laws are too restrictive for him to have that handgun. So he's got one, but getting it into California is not possible, unfortunately. And this hit some NRA sites. It hit the San Francisco Standard. There's quite a bit of details around this. I don't quite know who gave it to him. I assume it was some sort of podcast or whatever stunt, because he does podcast now. But he's prevented from accepting a gun by AD 75, which is something that he himself pushed forward in California state. So, yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was Sean Ryan.
Sean Ryan gave him a gun. He could not have done that without irony.
Oh, I'm sure.
He had to have known that he was like, here's a gift. Try getting it into your state, jackass. Like, there's no way Sean Ryan wasn't aware of that. And that, to me, is chef's kiss brilliance.
Oh, it's great. The irony I find so ironic. The NRA ILA, which is the Institute for Legislative Action, has the article, and they end it with, hey, on that note, if Sean Ryan is still looking for a home for that SIG, a listener in a free state would undoubtedly be happy to designate an FFL to send it to.
Yeah.
It's too good.
I volunteer for tribute. How does she do? Yeah, I volunteer for tribute. Yeah, send it this way. I'll take that SIG.
Yeah.
I'll be like, this was supposed to be Gavin Newsom's gun, but he made it so he couldn't have it.
And I wish I had the clip from this. It's obviously going to be on the Sean Ryan show. But to recap, it says, during the interview, Ryan handed Newsom a box SIG 365X macro pistol. Upon receiving the gift, the notorious gun control supporter gushed about how cool it was, stating, "This is fabulous. You know what? The last thing people would expect is that I would respect this gift. Thank you so much." The politician went on to claim that he's not anti-gun at all, adding, I'm deeply mindful and respectful of the Second Amendment and the people's constitutional rights. And of course, he can't bring it back to California.
Oh my God. Just unbelievable. Like, the fact that it was just like Sean Ryan did such an amazing job of exposing that. And for him to try to say, oh no, I fully respect the Second Amendment as I crush it under my communist heel in California, illegally, mind you, like all of his state laws that have been crippling the Second Amendment in the state of California go against the Constitution entirely. So they are null and void and should be challenged at the Supreme Court over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous notion that they have any right to restrict people from owning firearms in any state. It's a constitutional amendment. You do not get to do that. But here we are, California abiding by what are more or less toothless mandates, because they'll come with guns to you and put you in jail for having guns. And that's the irony. So, and that man has been riding off the piggybacking off of all of the people before him who helped build the infrastructure for the horrific gun laws that they have in California. But man, did he leapfrog off of that to the point where the man cannot, you cannot look at that man and not see pure evil of somebody who wants to strip you of your rights.
Yeah.
And then for him to go, I actually love, this is a neat gun. I actually love guns.
Right.
In such a clownish, hypocritical way, I think was probably one of the best things Sean Ryan's done to expose that man before he attempts a presidential run. I think this will be solid gold for people to point at when he tries to run for president inevitably.
Yep. I found that just absolutely enthralling. I was tickled to hear that occurred. I was like, nice. He can't have that, can he? And now that's the big thing where it's like, nope, he actually can't. Like, oh man, super fun. Now, normally I try to proclaim that I won't take shots at Seattle and that I'll give it a rest for 1 week, but we've been off for a little while. There is a park in Seattle. It's called Denny Blaine Park, and it's making news headlines right now, dude, because
I'm familiar with Denny Blaine Park.
There's serial nudity and serial inappropriate behavior while nude occurring at these parks from a ton of people that live there, and neighbors around the area and locals are demanding that Seattle take action, claiming that, like, hey, this rampant, masturbation and indecent exposure and like all the stuff that is generally reserved for a New York subway is now occurring in Seattle, and they won't have any of that. Well, the police responded and apologized, and nothing's been done of this. Now the proposals are coming out, and I hope that this is somehow a joke. The proposal that's on the table that I read about this morning is that they're going to cordon off the park to give a safe place for people to do that on one side of the park, and then people that don't want to see that could be on the other side of the park. And I imagine they're going to have to erect some sort of fence, no pun intended.
Erect.
Something's got to give, but like, how far down have we fallen that that's acceptable? Where it's like, well, the compromise is that this park should be for everyone. And sorry that your little kids might not want to see that or whatever you believe, but we think we need to have a safe space. Like, if they're serious about this, dude, that town is beyond lost.
At this point, I'm cheering it on. At this point, I'm like,
get the popcorn
going,
ready.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, top 5 reasons I left Seattle is one, I didn't get to jerk off in the parks enough.
Was high on my list when I moved.
Yeah.
I was enough.
I know. I gotta go. If I can't do this here, where can I do it?
Grab my oversized bottle of lotion and I left.
I mean, are we surprised? Are we surprised at all? Like, that they're just like, not only are we not going to stop it, we're going to encourage it by giving them their own little jerk off camp over in the corner.
Right. When is that side of the park not equitable enough where they have to start encroaching on the whole park? Where
can you imagine being the guy having to clean that corner of the park?
Could you imagine being the constituent that has to vote on the expansion of Denny Blaine Park for serial masturbators? The pages of history are quite literally stuck together on this one as we anxiously await the results of tonight's polls. Like,
I'm dumbfounded, but also not surprised, all rolled into one. Like, but what I'm thinking actually is it's probably not even just the homeless people. I know that park. I know that neighborhood.
It's probably,
I don't think it's just
regular dudes and gals looking for regular dude and gal stuff to do.
Spending the nights at like some of the leather bars up there, and then going down to the park and going and having daytime fun as well. And does anybody have a job anymore? Who has the time to go to the park and jerk off? Like, get a job, do something else.
I mean, these are valuable votes for the government elite over there in Olympia, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's, to me, like, I mean, I've seen some crazy shit. I go to Seattle a lot and lived there for years and years too. And each time I go, something ridiculous always shocks me. And I thought one of the more recent times that I went, like, I'll have escaped unscathed. There was stuff out the window far away that I didn't get any on me. There's no Seattle's coming home with me. This is amazing. And as I was we might have talked about this here, I don't know. But as I was at my gate, I got there a little early because it is the worst Homeland Security line to get through in any airport I've ever been to.
Same.
So you got to go early. I make it through. I get to my gate. The plane that I'm going to leave on is pulling up, and people are going to get out. And they're going to clean that plane, and then I'm going to get on, and I'm going to go home. And the person at the end of the row is actively overdosing on some variant cocktail of drugs. And the Seattle Fire Department comes in and start hitting this dude with Narcan and whatever else they got. And I just, at this point, because I didn't know at first if it was a panic attack or if the guy's like straight up overdosing, he's overdosing. I'm like, if people are already helping this guy, I'm just going to continue filming him with my phone because I don't feel obligated to try and help save a life today. This is fine. They're already on it. So the first thing that people see when they depart that plane at this gate is a full spread of the Seattle Fire Department and this dude just convulsing and drooling and like vomiting. And it's like, that's your welcome to Seattle. And that's the last thing I see before I go home. And it is getting so fucking bad up there every time I go that like I can't even enjoy jerking off in a park now. Like at this point, what am I supposed to do for fun? Yeah, you can't like disc golfing. No thanks. Who knows what gremlins are going to be hiding in the brush? In some Seattle park. Dude, like. It's bananas to me.
People think that we're actually joking, but that's actually a legitimate concept of a fear of like somebody not wearing pants. It's like just
you have to laugh at this now because it's so real when you're there. Like I remember there was a night I went downtown. It was for a movie with a roommate and a couple of friends, and there was a homeless woman just taking a dump in the middle of the street, and then screamed at me like, "The hell are you looking at?" And I was like, You're taking a shit in the street. Like, I'm looking at you.
You're in the men's room.
Like, why is this okay? Stuff like that is now commonplace there. It's just, It is just the way of things. And everyone that is desensitized to it, I think enough, just have their heads buried in the sand. Like, well, everywhere has their problems. And yes, everywhere has their problems, but like, how much is too much? I thought this was so fucking hilarious. And the response to it, if this is to be believed, is classic Seattle, Washington.
Classic Seattle. Like, that's how they handle problems.
Give them a safe space.
Oh, yeah, give them a safe space. Like, let's provide needles and drugs for them.
Needle exchange programs now have to move aside for the Nivea exchange program. The Lubriderm crew is like giving out free sample. What are we doing? The fuck are we doing?
It is absolute chaos. Like it is like the further 10 years ago, I was calling it Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And I had no idea where it was going. it has surpassed anything I've thought it could do. And I was already I was already disgusted by the daily behavior.
Sodom and Gomorrah set the bar and Seattle said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, 100%. I remember early on, my mom had just moved to the Seattle area to come live with us, and she had come up to the shop for the first time to see it. And we were on Olive at that point and not on Pike. And as I'm coming down Denny Hill, very close to where that park is, we're coming down. It's like a Tuesday night, right? Mm-hmm. And as we're driving down the hill, there's just some dude wearing nothing but a cardboard box around his waist, and he's dancing. He's got like crazy hair, and he's like, "Wow!" And some other dude who's just taking pictures of him. Mm-hmm. And my mom's like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" I was like, "Yep, Mom, that's Tuesday night on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
That's normal."
Wait
And
till
she's just
Felony
like,
Friday. We're just warming up.
"Yeah, don't come up here in June ever, like, because it's wild." And so,
With Misdemeanor Monday behind us.
yeah, and
The
so,
week
yeah,
is
it was
young.
one.
Yeah.
But she was just kind of shocked, and at that point I had become so kind of numb to it
Yeah.
that, like, that's just base level, society in Seattle. And it progressively ramped up, and then I got to the point where I was going back. I'd moved in 2016 back over here, and we had moved locations to the new spot on Pike, and I had an apartment nearby that I rented from a friend. And every time I came back, every month, because I had the distance and I had, escaped the city, right? And then I come back and I could see the differences of it progressively getting worse. Now, if you're in it, you don't see it because it's the frog in the boiling pot of water
It
scenario.
took me leaving and coming back too, and I have my aha moment, but please continue.
Yeah, but that's it. Like, I kept having them over and over again. And the more and more, like, every month, and I did this for 3.5 years, where I was spent half the time here and half the time there. And every time I went back, I would dread it more and more and more, because I was just like, there's a background static that you cannot, and you're always tensed up. You're always on edge, because you're not sure, if you leave the tattoo shop at midnight, if you're going to get accosted by a raging, screaming, fentanyl dosed up, naked, crazy person in the street, and it got worse and worse and worse, and incrementally I could see it building that nobody else could. And they were just like, "We don't know what you're talking about. It's normal." I was like, "This isn't normal, and it's getting progressively worse."
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's unrecognizable. It's bedlam. No one recognizes. If you left Seattle 5 years ago and you tried to, like, blindly go back in there, you would not recognize it anymore. And I don't think that there is an upward trajectory anywhere near the future. It
would require a radical reckoning that the constituents of that area just wouldn't let happen at this point.
But instead, they're now making caveats in law to allow people to jerk off in public, but in parks where you bring children.
Like, we know the indecency is occurring. The response to it is what I'm not certain is memeing or not, but it's a perfect Seattle response to it. So it does not surprise me if that's the truth. And I've talked about it on this pod before, so I won't regale you with the ins and outs of how I felt. But in short, because I used to disc golf a lot for fun, you just throw frisbees into baskets, and there's a couple of spots I'd go to all the time. I remember one being quite close to a school in Southwest Seattle, like a high school. And when you go dig your disc out of a bush, when you it arcs into some shrub, and you got to go find your frisbee, that you would see remnants of kids cut in class, right? There's forged parents' notes in there. There's a cigarette butt. There's, signs of kids skipping school and smoking cigarettes out in the brush behind the schoolyard, whatever. And I left. I went to Arizona. I came back. I was like, I'll go play disc golf again. And once more, trying to dig through the brush, which is an inevitability at some point, I started seeing methadone bags and needles and discarded clothing and stuff that turned your stomach, that I'm not going to relive here, that was just holy fuck, that's what's going on outside of the school now. And this was a period of maybe a year and a half, and it really set in that I was able to open my eyes and look around and be like, this is not the same place. It's gotten quite a bit darker since the last time I was here. And then when you start to pay attention to it, the signs are obvious. It becomes a cavalcade. And then, other things started building: the taxes, where's my money going, all the shit that they're pushing through that was voted down that they just don't care about. And eventually it's, 1,000 cuts of finally kill you. So that was it. But yeah, I had that realization too after being away for some time to be like, wow, this is not the way it was when I left. And like, kids shouldn't have to be subjected to shit like that. You know what I mean? Whatever's going on here or participating in it. And it happens so fast. So yeah.
So if they were in a horse race, who do you think is in the lead at the moment, Washington or California, for most self-destruction? Like
because of the
self-harm,
because of the GDP and the implications around it, California is an easy answer. All of the food in the state that I live in comes from there principally, so we reap the benefits of their ineptitude in agriculture, commerce, and other areas. Principally water as well. Like if where I live runs out of water because of the Colorado River, California won't move an inch to help desalinate the Pacific Ocean and pipe it over to us. Plus they set the standard, and soon after, within 24 to 48 hours, you'll see Oregon and Washington fall in line. Right. From where did I live most recently, where the microcosm is the biggest pain in the ass, it feels much more real in Seattle because Seattle is not representative of Washington state as a whole. There's a broader Washington out there if you're willing to go look at it and see what it looks like. California is the same every fucking where you go. Like the industry's different, and there's pockets of people that don't like what's going on in California that are buried in the Northern Highlands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But every metro center, everywhere Caltrans touches, you know, it's it's kind of the same thing. And I think the machine is so fucking big there that it makes it worse in aggregate, but it feels much more close to home when you're cramped in Seattle, which is not a very big city, all things considered. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it, but they're all the same thing to me. Enough shades of gray, and eventually you go colorblind where you're like, I can't tell the difference between... Like, I used to ride my motorcycle up and down the coast for vacation. I don't have any desire to re-enter all three of those states, and they carry one of the dopest roads in the history of our country to commute on in Highway 1 from the top to the bottom, and it's not even worth going without getting ticketed for something, harassed for something else, overpriced gasoline, and every other fucking thing you got to deal with over there is like, it is not even appealing anymore to try. And I, for what it's worth, one of my favorite places on earth is La Jolla in San Diego. It's like magic. It personified on earth. It's really cool. And it's not even a good time to go to Southern California and just be like, I want to go see the water. I've got a weekend to kill. It's a 4-hour drive. That's not that bad. It's not even worth going, Like, so that's how I look at it. I don't know how you perceive those things, but
no, I'm right on there. I'm on the same page. Like I count on one hand how many people I actually care about enough in California to go back for funerals, but outside of that, I'm not stepping in that state. And then as far as Washington, the only reason I ever go into that state is to go to the airport, to go fly down to Nevada, because we don't have, it's the closest, major airport near us. So I have to, but if I could not spend money in the state of Washington, and I just don't spend money there because I don't even want I don't want to
feed the economical machine even a penny.
Not even a penny. Like and so I like, people are like, oh, there's this great restaurant in Spokane. I was like, no, that's a bummer. Because I'm not gonna go spend my money in that state if I can help it. And that rule has been broken a handful of times probably in the last 5 years. And oftentimes it had something to do with the kids' sports, or if another, like, we went to the movies with another couple and they were paying for it or whatever. I'm not going. Like, I'm just not going to if I don't absolutely have to. So give me just a second. I have to plug my phone in. Apparently this cord is not plugged into one that actually
no worries.
charges.
So I want to apologize, but I'm not going to, because deep down inside, you guys know by now, I absolutely love ripping on Washington as much as I can. So yeah, that's kind of where our western states are are at right now. We're going to move into probably a little darker end of the spectrum on the pod for us, but we've had a lot of celebrities pass away over the last time we spoke to you. Notably, Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan. The other two I didn't know super well. Like the dude from Nip Tuck is an actor, and I should have looked his name up, but
Julian McMahon.
McMahon, thank you. But yeah, he also was in the Fantastic Four, which was not a great movie, but he did a pretty decent job as Doctor Doom, all things considered. He passed away, and then there was a Major League Baseball guy, Ryan Sandberg, as well. But speaking more toward Ozzy and Hulk, like, I guess I'll start with Hulk Hogan. I can't imagine, and I don't know necessarily the details around his death, but I can't imagine his heart and stuff was in pretty good shape considering the amount of like steroids and stuff this guy's known to have used throughout his career as a wrestling guy. But he did define my childhood in a ton of ways. You know what I mean? Like, like he was kind of like an immortal television figure at that point in time, because that's kind of the persona that they built him to have, and it worked. But it's really sad because he couldn't have been more than 60 something. And
he was 71.
71. Yeah. Okay. So just in his 70s, but that's kind of young, all things considered. I mean, he was a fit guy. I don't know if he was healthy considering the amount of steroids and stuff, but that was a real drag. I was like, really? God damn.
Well, him in particular, the one thing between him and Ozzy, which were both pretty big hits. Those are world famous big celebrities that everyone just kind of knows their name. If you know what wrestling is, you know what Hulk Hogan is. If you know what rock and roll is, you know who Ozzy Osbourne is. I personally, weirdly, the thing that struck me the most is that how young they actually were, because I thought when I was a kid in the late 80s and early 90s, I thought that Hulk Hogan was already in his 50s.
No.
And because as a kid, I'm like, that's an old guy who's just dragging out a career and barely, doing the thing, but the personality and the money keeps him going. So when I said he was 71, I was like, wait, that guy's only 25 years older than me?
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's what struck me. I also did the same thing with Ozzy. Ozzy was 76. And I thought that guy was, because think about in the early 2000s and 2005 to 8, in that era when the show The Osbournes was on MTV, and he was stumbling around, barely like mumbling, could have sworn he was like almost 60 at that point. And nope, he was not. He was in his early to mid 50s. And so I kind of had a kind of disengage, because when I was a little kid in the 80s, late 80s, Black Sabbath was already classic rock by that point.
Right.
And he was already, a legend at that point. So for me, like, the guy was already kind of an old dude. Because if you're getting played on my dad's radio station when I'm a kid, then like it kind of sets the bar of how old that person is,
It draws the generational gap box for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, they were definitely a little younger than I thought. I would say that they both had a significant impact in my life. I was never like, I could appreciate Black Sabbath. I could appreciate Ozzy, but I was always warned as a kid that how evil he was, so I've always kind of kept him at a distance and kept his music at a, like, I will absolutely listen to Ozzy on the radio and Black Sabbath on the radio, and it was really pinnacle key music to that genre, and he was a genius at it. That was a thing that I can't deny. I love the music, but I also have always kind of went, that's the guy that the church warned me about.
Right. He's on stage biting the heads off of live bats and stuff. That has to be the devil. Hey, quick question. When you plugged your phone in just now, did you plug it into a wall outlet or into a part of your computer?
Part of my computer.
I might check Discord to see if it changed what your microphone settings are because you plugged something into it. Just double check it real quick. It sounds almost like you're coming through the web cam thing.
Oh,
Now
well.
it sounds better. Maybe you were just far from the
Yeah.
mic. I don't know.
Sounds good now.
Oh, yeah. You're on the mic. Okay, cool. I was like, sometimes it does that, and it just sounded like you were far away. Ozzy Osbourne never had like the pinnacle number one, like, oh, this is an echelon group for me to listen to and stuff. If I was to look at classic rock, the Rolling Stones mattered a little bit more to me, I think, than did Ozzy Osbourne and stuff. But he absolutely, totally had my respect for what Black Sabbath was able to put together, and is a trendsetter among early rock and rollers and stuff. So for me, that was really kind of like, ooh, God, But I kind of, in the back of my head, similar to the way you looked at them age-wise, as far as like the generational box, I kind of figured, man, this guy must be just held together with heroin and various forms of amphetamines and party drugs based on his lifestyle, which is pretty well documented. But I didn't know that he was that young either until all this came out. But it is super unfortunate. I don't know how Hulk died. I think Ozzy was a heart attack, though, wasn't it? Does that sound right?
I think it was complications of Parkinson's.
Oh, Parkinson's. Okay.
Yeah.
But somebody had a heart attack, and I think Julian was fighting cancer quietly in his latter years. That's kind of why he stepped away from a lot of like movie and television and things like that. And then
one of the other ones was Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Yeah.
He was Theo from
that's right. Cosby's,
from
right?
the Cosby Show,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And his was actually a bit of like, not that the others weren't tragedies, but he was on vacation with his family in some part of the tropics of South America somewhere, and he ended up drowning.
Jesus.
So that was a weird one. But yeah,
it's just a lot of like big name celebrities in a week or two, which was kind of crushing, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Didn't really have a bit or anything. I think that'd be in poor taste, but just, definitely reflective thought.
Just
Put
significant cultural impact.
Yeah.
People who music and entertainment and wrestling for kids in America, those those kind of molded a lot of the personality of who we grew up to be, especially if you're Gen X or millennial. Like this, those two guys had kind of helped usher you through adolescence. And I mean, Hulk Hogan was synonymous with like Americana, and
ever.
Yeah. And so there's a lot to be said about losing kind of iconic people like that who molded American culture in one fashion or another. But I think that that industry giants such as that, when we lose them, I think chips away at the tapestry that is America, that we have built over an enormous amount of time, much like In-N-Out is part of the tapestry of California. Right. Americana in general, especially, post World War II, you only have a few things that kind of kept that kind of idea that when you're in Eastern Europe or South America, that when America gets brought up in modern context, you think of people like Hulk Hogan. Right. You think of people like the rock stars, even though Ozzy was British. There's a cultural understanding that like heavy metal and rock and roll are kind of an American thing. And so, but these people
that statement's going to rile up the listeners.
Ooh. Bring it.
Fuck you, Sex Pistols wrote everything.
I'll fight everyone about it. But yeah, it's one of those things.
But could they Creed? I rest my case. Scott Stapp with one leg up on the monitor.
Michael Madsen also.
That's the one that killed me, dude. I love Michael Madsen. Yeah, that was a couple weeks back, and I went on a Michael Madsen-a-thon. Obviously, the big breakout was the first Tarantino film, not True Romance, but Reservoir Dogs that he actually shot. And then we went into Species. We went everywhere, dude. Like we're watching all kinds of shit. What's up? You had an oh shit exclamation point moment.
Oh, my dog is losing his mind upstairs.
Oh.
I think my wife left, and I can hear him, and I'm just like, "Shut up!"
Got it. Well, thankfully the filtering is pretty good so far.
Okay. One of the things that I also came across, because I'm going through this list of celebrities who died, and this means something to me, but it probably not to the rest of the listeners or even you. A very, very famous comic book writer named Jim Shooter passed away, and I didn't know. So,
what did he work on?
He was Marvel's editor-in-chief in the 80s and wrote he wrote a lot. Like, I think he wrote like the Secret Wars stuff that happened in Marvel and stuff like that. But apparently he was diagnosed with cancer in 2024, and he worked for both Marvel and DC as a teenager. Yeah, he was kind of controversial. He was kind of a hard-nosed, not super woke leftist kind of guy that just didn't put up with like crybaby nonsense in the comic book world. So he was known for that, but he was a great writer. So Jim Shooter was known for that. Other than that, I'm kind of going through, there's a lot of people who died that I didn't even, like Bobby Sherman and a whole bunch of people who've died recently, but the big ones I think we've pretty much covered. So,
well, I'll move us into a bit of a lighter note then. You asked a question, why do we give a shit? And the question was around something that's been sweeping the nation, and that is a Coldplay concert recently where a big CEO was embracing the head of his HR department at a Coldplay concert. And when the KISS camera found them, they like immediately like scattered like rats or cockroaches when you turn a light on or open a cupboard. And they made the comment like, oh, in real time, must be having an affair. And he was. And it's absolutely been memed out of its fucking mind. Like the internet is 10-0 perfect at stuff like this. I got memes. I'm literally swiping on them where it's like the guy in that freeze frame holding the HR department lady, you know, like embracing her while they're like enjoying the Coldplay show. But it's a slice of pizza holding a pineapple, and then they both get like really scared. I've seen Barney Rubble's wife and Fred Flintstone. Like they've just, the memes are pure gold on this one. But everyone is, I don't know what it is. Like the Hawk Tuah girl before it, it's just something stick for like a week or two, and the mileage is long. Like ESPN, bro, did a cutaway to we're going to go back to the New York offices kind of cutaway. Both of the anchors dudes were holding each other in front of the camera until the camera came on, and they're like, oh, and like everybody was getting in on this. And I was just like,
the Phillies mascots did it like on live TV. Like everyone was getting in on this. And like, first of all, the amount of mileage that this got, and it was funny. Don't get me wrong. My wife was sending me some pretty hilarious memes based on this.
Yeah.
But
there's Trump holding Biden. There was a bunch.
Yeah. But I'm scratching my head going, and I saw this video of this lady going, why am I supposed to care about this? And then she goes down the rabbit trail and ends up trying to explain it to coworkers. No. Like, and it was a funny kind of thing, but it started off with like, who are these people and why do I care? And that's how I felt for the entirety of it. I'm like, why do we care about?
That's how I still feel. Like, who cares?
But man, did it get legs. And I was not ready for it, because, and I think I'm just at the age now where these things, I'm like, I don't care who's sleeping with who. It doesn't matter. But like this situation felt almost like fabricated to the point of like, it was getting traction, it was getting attention, and it was getting views that felt almost manufactured.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like I get the Haktua girl for the flash in the pan, kind of like,
Right.
oh, she said the funny thing. But this was like, yeah, but this had real life consequences for these people. And on top of that, like, are we supposed to be paying attention to what his company actually did or does?
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know if this, like, it just felt weird and I didn't know why. And, but I didn't know why I should care.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of assume that the heads of major corporations, just like the oligarchs of major companies, are just all kind of horrible people that are banging each other, like, and like cheating on their spouses.
Sure
And
seems
then
that way.
And so I was like, this just seems like par for the course, but he got caught because he went to a Coldplay concert with his HR lady, that's the funny part to me.
Right.
But then I saw the picture of his wife with his little boys, and she's like 20 times hotter than the lady that he was gallivanting with. And I'm like, so is he just horrible and has horrible taste, or is she so awful
Right.
that it didn't matter how good looking she was, he just went to find someone who was nicer? Like, I don't, but then at that point, I guess you don't, when you're in those levels of executive positions, you don't just divorce because it's sticky and complicated and there's a lot of money involved.
I don't know, but
like,
we have heard this song played before. Consider Bill Clinton hooked up with Monica Lewinsky when he had an absolute knockout of Hillary.
right.
No,
that was exactly the point I was
know
trying
that's
to
where you were
make.
trying to land the plane. Just figured I'd help you out with the landing gear. Now, I agree with you, but to the point that it's like, why do we give a shit about any of this? I think, I feel like we're just kind of ambivalent and loafing about on social media to the point where when something strikes and someone makes super big fun of it in one way, and then everyone's like, oh, I'm not going to be outdone, I'm just going to put this on there, and then it just snowballs into the point of absolute comic hilarity. But you and I are now hardened to the point where we don't trust anything at all, and it's like, is this
right
getting us to look left when we should be looking right? What is this? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I don't know. Like, I can't explain it. It is funny, like the meme side of it. It's not funny that obviously like a family's now broken and it's all over the national everything. It's on everyone's mind and stuff, but
yeah, and you're right. Like, a family was destroyed by their own doing. It's not because of the exposure of it. I mean, the man did cheat on his wife with another woman and got caught. However, it just doesn't seem newsworthy. It seems as if this is just a normal scenario that happens. I mean, how many kiss cams have I seen in the past where people obviously weren't supposed to be there together, and it was like, oh, that's funny, and then you don't hear about it anymore. It's like, oh, those people were obviously having an affair.
Yeah, the funniest ones are like when it hones in on someone at a ballpark and the sign comes up and it says she's my sister or he's my brother or whatever, and everyone's like, oh, But yeah, there's been a few where it's like, oh, those two aren't supposed to be there together, and you could tell by their reaction. But
yeah, and she pulls away and looks the other way, and he's like, oh, And this isn't the first time this has happened. So I'm wondering why in this particular case it became such a thing that
no idea.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It struck a nerve somehow, but the fallout, I mean, from a memes perspective, is comedy gold. There's been some super funny ones.
For sure.
But yeah. So, Conspiracy Corner this week. We have nothing super formal that doesn't require some research or delicate approach. So you had a piece of nostalgia meeting Conspiracy Corner this week. Let me get my hat here.
Yes. I thought we could go in a kind of lighter route this week, and only because of my engagement with my stepbrother and having grown up together, and we had a very unique upbringing and childhood in the middle of the woods in the Tahoe National Forest with wolves and Beyond Power and Phone and all that. So we spent our entire youth together kind of exploring unexplored areas of the Tahoe National Forest and had some experiences that he brought up. And we went down, and my kids, like, they call it dad lore, part of many of my adventures of growing up, right? And part of this was, he's all, do you remember this happening? Because I thought I was crazy, and I had this memory. Did this happen? And then I would go, not only did it happen, here's some more details. And he goes, yes, you know, and then I go, do you remember this happening? He goes, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. But yeah, we were, you know, so a couple of the experiences is on the 4th of July one year, and I think we must have been maybe 12 or 13, probably between 11 and 13, somewhere in there. And we were driving in the back of our parents' red Nissan extra cab, little mini pickup, right? And we were, I don't even know where we were going. We were going probably to town or something. And it was about, I would say 6 or 7, and you know the sun's not going down quite yet, but it's on the lower side. And we're coming up the mountainside of the dirt roads we lived on, and both him and I saw, and we both described it exactly the same way. And we don't know why we didn't knock on the window. Probably because we knew our parents would have just like rolled their eyes at us and scoffed at us at that point. But we saw in the window, or like not in the, like out in the opening of this tree area, a orange cylinder that was like kind of cigar shaped and kind of pill shaped, and it was probably, I don't know, 300-400 feet, 500 feet up in the air. It wasn't like out in the sky. It was like not far. And we were watching this thing and we're like, what is that? And for all I could tell at that age, it was floating, it was orange, and it was not moving. It was just floating around, but not like flying. And we were just like, what the heck? And then we drove up the sidewinding road until we got to another clearing, and we saw it again over the same area, just from a different vantage point. And we saw it again. And to this day, we don't know what that was. We can't explain it. It was one of our childhood sightings of things that we never got really an answer to. Another one is on multiple occasions in the dead of winter, once or twice in the summer, but it happened multiple years in a row, where it would happen once or twice in the summer and then once or twice in the winter. And we had raised wolves. We had a bunch of different wolves that we grew up with that would chase bear. They were not afraid of things. They were a pack of wolves, right? And on a couple of different occasions, we woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning to the sounds, and we didn't have neighbors. Just to make this perfectly clear, we lived in the dead center of the Tahoe National Forest. There weren't neighbors for miles, and then in some directions for hundreds of miles. And we also grew up in knowing what all the natural wildlife in the area sounded like, what the coyotes and the mountain lions and all of them all sounded like, porcupines, all of it.
Yep.
And we would wake up in the night and we had like a to the sound of a hollering, like a yelling, but it was guttural and deep, and then it turned into like screeching and crying and like weird fluctuations of voice signature. And it was distant, but we'd wake up because the dogs were freaking out, and then the dogs would all start to cower and like hide under or next to us and shake and then come. So we would all kind of gather because we'd all wake up to this, and my dad would have his gun and we would sit in the living room in a circle and just listen as this noise and this screaming would circle the cabin. and it would get closer and closer until it was 50 feet outside. And we just hit there and just in total silence, just sit there until it stopped. And then, we'd all just kind of be whispering and going, what is that? What is that? And the wolves are cowering, and multiple times this happened. And then 30 minutes after it stopped, we'd all just kind of like go off to bed. And then wake up the next day and then go to church in the morning or something. But like, it was always.
But this is something that like you had a parent with you was experiencing this at the same time, of stuff. Yeah,
both parents. Yeah, so both our parents, and then like 4 kids, all sitting in the living room together, all listening to this, not knowing what it is. So, and our child brains automatically went to, that's obviously Bigfoot, and Bigfoot is running around our house right now, like scaring our dogs. And so that was one of the experiences that we grew up with. And then Eric, like probably 10 years ago, I remember him texting me and him saying, dude, I had the craziest experience at work today. And he works for the irrigation district in the county that he's at. And so he does, like, at the time he was doing like irrigation ditch, like drags to make sure that the water was flowing good. So he'd go through all the back trails and all the back roads. And he said he was going down this road, and this is in northern, same kind of area that we grew up in. He's going down this road, and he said there was this thing that was in the middle of the road, and at first I thought it was a dog, and it started to bow up on me in my truck. And it was not a dog. It was much bigger than a dog, but it didn't have any hair, and it like had a weird face, and it had like this arched back, and like it looked weird, but it like started to like get aggressive on me, and I started driving towards it, and I followed it for like 15-20 minutes down the road, and it kept turning around and like flexing on me. And like I don't know, like I cannot explain it. And he goes, this is what it looked like. And he like sent me pictures of,
he took pictures of it.
Could only be described as
chupacabra.
A chupacabra, right? And so I didn't think it could go that far north, but
well, I mean, with some of this administration's deportation policies, it's unlikely we would see a chupacabra this north for very long.
Yeah.
I can hear him too.
Can you hear that? Yeah, I'm gonna go kill them. Hold on.
We interrupt this broadcast for Barking Dog. Barking Dog can be found in 3 new flavors: small, yippy, and annoying. Find Barking Dog at your local pet store. These stories are always fun as he's taking care of Barking Dog.
My apologies.
It's all right. Barking Dog can be found in 3 new flavors: small, yippy, and annoying. Find Barking Dog near you.
Good Lord.
Back to Conspiracy Corner.
Yeah.
So did he take photographs of this thing and send it to you?
I don't remember if he just sent me pictures of stuff he found on the internet.
Okay.
But we discussed it again, and
like, you should put that out on our socials and see if we can get the listener to identify what this thing is.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, so he was, and Eric's not one to embellish. Eric is a very straightforward. The guy couldn't be caught lying if you tried.
Yeah.
He's not a liar. He's not a guy who tells stories or big fish stories. In fact, he's sarcastically the opposite. And so, if he says he saw something, I 100% believe that he saw it. But what he saw, even he's like, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just know it wasn't a dog. And then if it was a dog, it was a really weird dog. And so, but yeah. So those kind of, I love all conspiracies. Yeah. But one of the conspiracies that I do love is cryptozoology. Like the idea that there are things here on this planet that have evaded science and detection to a point where a mythology has been built around it. And I don't know. Because it also kind of ties into my love of the biblical concept of the Nephilim and what could have come from those things. So I kind of tie all that together, and I find it very fascinating. I watch every single episode of Ancient Aliens, and I don't believe in aliens. So like, but I just love the ideas, and I'm a sci-fi guy, so it kind of ties into that too. But like, I don't believe in life outside of this planet, and that may be a hot take, but that's just my own personal belief. But I love alien movies, and I love the idea of ancient alien stuff and the mysteries that it holds. I personally have my own feelings on all of those things, but the beauty of the cryptozoology and alien worlds is something that I just find incredibly fascinating. And I don't know if it's tied into my childhood memories of the weird experiences.
It has to be. It has to be, because I've had similar ones, not in the same vein per se, but like I've long said, attempting to be as much of a pragmatist as possible. If you were to say life doesn't exist outside of Earth, mathematics is probably not on your side. Like, okay, but what I mean by that is single-celled organism buried deep in the ice somewhere on some asteroid, perhaps, right? Something survived in the vacuum of space. Like, likely that it's a developed species from a different galaxy as advanced or more so advanced than us. Probably not. I mean, I assume we would likely have seen something by now, but maybe not. But I am skeptical. I think if we're going to find crazy beings on Earth, in my mind, the likelihood of us finding them are going to be deep in the water, because we've exhausted a lot of the land masses that we have for what we're aware of above ground, right? Like, so for me, I think that's always a very real possibility. Like, well, how deep does that water go? And, you know, what kind of creature is down there that could be massive and Meg-like? I don't know. Did the megalodon survive? Perhaps. Mine have always been
disturbing. Anything underwater, to me, that's the most disturbing.
My weird things that I've seen out of the corner of my eye, you know, or directly on and stuff, have always been more spiritual in nature, where it's like, right. It's difficult for me to describe the realm of spirituality or the heaven and hell pieces of this, but I've definitely seen stuff that's, in my mind, gripping enough to be supernatural and crazy. One of which was like a physical interaction, which really shook me for a number of years, where I kind of like took a real big step away from involving myself around all of that, because it would just live kind of rent free in my mind. It's also why I don't watch horror movies. That is the real reason why I don't watch horror movies, specifically around religious subplots or main plots and stuff like that, is because I've seen stuff that I just don't agree with, kind of deal. I do remember once, like, just taking a shower and then flying across the bathroom, just like someone punched me out of the shower, and I like slammed up against the wall, full wet, still had soap on and everything, and like the shower curtain is mangled and all that stuff.
How old were you at that point?
23. Woo. And I had a massive handprint on my shoulder, like just hot wham. And I think we talked about it on the pod too, but like when I was really getting involved in like world religion, studying theology, trying to figure out like where, mostly out of curiosity, where the overlaps are for like the doctrines that are at least written in some of these holy texts, be it from the Bible to the Quran to the Satanic Bible and stuff. And it was mostly like trying to decipher good, bad, you seems to be the main theme of most of those. And there was just so many weird swirling things where I'm like, I wonder if my subconscious and conscious are now fighting for supremacy, because I get really manic about the stuff that I involve myself in when I'm curious about it. And so I kind of like switched off and stuff. But the only other thing that was like massive to me is my hands would burn when I get really close to tarot cards. Like I could tell if there was some in the house because my hands would start to burn. And I'm like, like, I dated a girl, Katie, for a long time. When we first got together,
Wow.
I was moving something in the closet for her, helping her move some clothes around. We've been together for 8 or 9 months at that point. And out of nowhere, my hands were just like I had touched a hot stove. And I was just like, do you have tarot cards nearby? And she's like, yeah, they're like 2 shelves above you, right where you're standing or whatever, behind some books or whatever. And I was like, look. And she was like, holy shit. And I'm like, my hands burn when I'm around them. Like, you got to do whatever you're going to do there. I don't fuck with that supernatural stuff, because it just gets really weird
stay
to
away
me
from all of it.
And so for that and other reasons, I've really withdrawn from like the spirituality aspect of like modern Christianity and stuff like that. But because throughout my life, I've had these, like, you can ask my dad. I remember like daydreaming about the church we were going to one time. Like the earth opened up and swallowed it, and the businesses slammed shut in its place, and it just disappeared. And 3 weeks later, the church, for no reason at all, just went out of business, packed up shop, didn't tell the congregation why, and left. And they were a staple of Coeur d'Alene forever and ever. It was called the Vineyard. It was on 4th Street or 4th Avenue or something like that. And my dad was like rattled about that, and was just like, how did you know that was going to happen like that? I remember you telling me. And I'm like, I don't know. And so like stuff like that, it's just wavelength kind of stuff that I always found like way too much to handle. Like my mind would fracture when I would see stuff or experience stuff like that. And so eventually I just took a huge step back. So for me, it's never been like the Bigfoot piece, although I also enjoy like science fiction and the anthropomorphological monster in the movie kind of stuff, like yeah, I'm always down for a good Planet of the Apes films and stuff like that. But there are certain parts where it intersects with like religious lore that are so, like, the veil is so thin for me in some of those areas that I just really try to pull away from all that stuff, and I don't know why. I've never understood why, but I have some sort of sensitivity to that I willfully try and shut down and stay away from for those reasons. Like, that was terrifying. I remember I called my mom and my dad. They were both on speakerphone when that whole shower incident. And I'm like, look, dude, like, I'm sending them pictures of my back. There's just a fucking hand, like, print. And I was just showering along and just woof, like, picked myself up off the floor and looked around like somebody just hit me with a sledgehammer or something. No explanation. Home alone, early in the morning, like 7, 8 a.m. No idea why that happened. So it was, that type of stuff has always been peering over my shoulder throughout my life, but I've never seen something besides those 2 or 3 instances that was so tangible that I'm like staring at what could be a UFO and like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? It's never been, I've never seen little green men in the backyard and like had to take a blurry photograph of it or anything like that. So yeah, that stuff, I think what you said earlier makes sense. It ties into where you came from, how you were raised, your sensitivity to that stuff. But when it's a shared experience like that, it's way different than some crackpot on the internet telling you about the time they flew out of the shower for no reason. At least you had like family there.
Right. It was confirmation for both of our families.
Yeah.
You were like, no, Uncle Chris will tell you, or Uncle Eric will tell you.
Yeah.
And like, we get together. We're like, no, that happened. And we have the same details. It kind of is, it's confirmation that, both of us had that same experience at the same time. And then, so yeah, it was definitely interesting in that regard. So I just thought that kind of going down the rabbit trail of fun, cool, conspiracy theory experiences would have been fun this time.
Tell us about your experience.
Yeah.
What weirdness up? Because I find this stuff super interesting because I try to be rationale first. Like I understand how I was raised. I understand what scripture says. I understand where the limits of my belief structures on all these things are. But when you're really immersed in it and weird shit keeps happening to you like that, it almost feels like you're losing your mind a little bit. And so for me, it was always like, you could call it paranormal or spiritual or whatever, like that end of the spectrum. But I've never like walked outside and like saw something just hanging in the sky that I shouldn't have seen for stuff like that. I've always been intrigued by people that collectively have those experiences, you know, because I too, not maybe with Ancient Aliens, but I too have seen like all the exposés on the Skinwalker Ranch and all the stuff like that where you're like, you know, where are we going to get to the footage part, you know, and it never comes and you're like, oh.
Those shows are such teases.
Totally.
Every single one of them.
You're expecting at some point, like, we're going to get into real Men in Black territory, and it just kind of never happens. You're like, oh, man.
The only one of those that actually kind of followed through, because all of them, even like the guys digging for treasure on that island, you know, like they have spent 7 seasons trying to find this treasure, you know, stuff like that. They never actually have a payoff moment in any of these series. There's only one that has, and it was the Hunting Hitler one where they tracked him to Argentina. Yeah. And then Argentina just admitted that he had been alive down there for like decades and sired people and like, so,
not to beat a dead horse again, but like, if all this stuff is coming to light, like I would love for the declassified documents to be consumable at some point. Like, from Epstein to Hitler in South America to all this stuff where it's like, dude, just, okay, cool. You admitted to it. Great. We'll take you at your word. Now show us the goods, man. Like, where's all the JFK stuff we were promised? You know, all this, that, the other, the Epstein files, on and on and on. So
isn't that what the History Channel is for? Is for you guys to kind of go, okay, this is all true. Here's all the information now. Make a TV show about it that's consumable for the public masses. That isn't just like a schlocky tease show. Like you actually get to go, hey, we now have definitive evidence, and here it is. The History Channel.
Plus the curiosity part of me, my heart swells where I'm like, yes, I'm finally gonna, like, this is interesting, and then it never comes. So I guess in light of that, one thing I do want to share for the first time ever with probably anybody, so world first on this podcast, hopefully you tuned in live, I do know how the pyramids were built in ancient Egypt.
Oh.
A lot of people have been wondering this. I know exactly how they were built. Are you ready?
Do tell. Yeah, I'm all ears.
Isaac Newton, widely referred to as the father of gravity, no?
True.
Yes, well, the pyramids were built before gravity was invented. The stones didn't weigh shit, dude. They got them from fucking anywhere. They set them down. They were like,
we never thought of this before.
We'll just keep piling them up. Eventually, they kind of made a point at the top. They're like, we can't pile no more because we haven't figured out rectangles and shit. That comes way later in history. And that's how it was. They didn't weigh anything back then, man. Like,
it's so simple. It's so simple. Like the fact that
just a little free piece of advice for the podcast listeners today. While I have my aluminum foil hat on, nothing is off limits.
Mystery solved. I think next week, now that we've determined who and what and how the pyramids were erected. I think next week we'll probably tackle a little bit more serious of a topic. I think that
one with contested history forks.
Yes,
sure.
Yes, but one that kind of it can be tied to modern stuff, but also to historical stuff. I think. And it's the conspiracy of the Titanic and its connection to the banking history of what happened in 1913 afterwards. And
deep ties to the creation of the Federal Reserve, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So it is a delicate topic because we have to unwind some conspiracies that have decided to take over it.
Divorce ourselves from the common prejudices around said story up front. So we'll find a creative way to do that. Yeah.
So that's probably what I'll be exploring, kind of the background and the history more than my tertiary, surface level knowledge of it.
But I had another one that I was going to bring up. I have no research on it either, but it's like all of the celebrities, including Paul Walker, that were like involved in like digging a little too deep around the Clinton administration and family around
or human trafficking and child exploitation,
and they
stuff.
all just magically died, and sort of the circumstances around their deaths being like, was that a car accident? Did something explode first? Like, you know, and not to like sully or make a meme of anyone who died's death, but some of those things are oddly way too close for comfort to say all of this is a coincidence. I almost went there this week. But I need to do some homework on that one too. So we got a full swath of conspiracies never die, man. Like we'll find them all. We'll keep wearing the tinfoil hat, so you guys don't worry about that.
That is true.
But it's also a million degrees here. I'm going to take my hat off. Where now I'm accountable for what I say. There we go.
Yeah, the removal of accountability hat.
Yeah. Like my idea to do a take purge that I stole from a different podcast. One day we'll do a take purge. It's going to be great. Until you hear the siren.
To me what
is a
take purge?
Take purge is great. It's a fantasy football show that I listen to. And they have these crazy takes on fantasy football players, like so-and-so from the 4th round is looking so good in training camp. All the early season hype about some dude that's likely going to get cut before the real season starts kind of stuff. And they pump them up and everyone gets really excited and like writes them down on their like, you know, gem finding, or such and such coach is going to get fired because of this, that, and the other thing. Or they always tie some weird pop culture thing to a football thing. But during the take purge, they have the same movie, The Purge siren, and as soon as the siren goes for a period of time through the one podcast a year, they can say whatever the fuck they want and sell it to you like it's a real thing, or deny something that's real because they just don't want to deal with it mentally. And then when the siren goes off, they have to go back to normal and they can no longer have takes on irrational things that involve sports or pop culture or whatever. Okay, and they're like, oh, I got to purge all my takes this year. I feel like a weight has lifted off my heart. Because we're not responsible for anything we say during the take purge. And it's hilarious. It's like their 1 hour excuse to get away with saying whatever the hell they want. And it's very funny. And it's usually football centric because that's the premise of their show. But I live for that episode every year. It's like right before the season starts, they'll do the mighty take purge for this year or whatever. We got to find a way to get rid of some of the crazy shit that we think about and have a take purge of some kind where we just confidently say shit that probably has no basis of fact whatsoever. Right. And just, hey, it's off limits during the siren periods, right? So
I've created filters that keep those from actually coming out, but I am chock full of them.
I've got a bunch that like, my outlet for this, to be fair with you, and it's hard because of my involvement in pop culture being as limited as it is during working hours, right? But my outlet for this was and is defending woke logic. When I just hear shit that makes my eyes roll in the back of my head, my nose squirts blood out of it, and I'm like, what? And so I sell it like it's a good idea during those moments. And they're fewer than they were. Few and far between, more so than they were a year ago, but still they're there, and I got to work on that a little bit. But yeah, I think it take purge would be in order to help lift some of the weight off of you, as it were. So we'll find a way to not directly rip it off, but have a good time with it. So
sounds good. Good.
So let's talk about some movies, man. We saw some stuff. You had 2, I had 1 in the pipe. Where do you want to go with movie reviews this week, man?
Well, before we do movie reviews, can I give you guys an update on the Coeur d'Alene shooter?
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. I don't know why I skipped out on that one. Yes, please. That's the number one thing I wanted to talk about tonight.
Well, for those that don't know, a couple weeks back, in fact, it was the last time I was down there. It was, I think, the 25th, 26th, 27th, somewhere in there of July or of June. We had an incident here in Coeur d'Alene, which put us once again in the national spotlight, which seems to be becoming a frequent occurrence, where we had an incident where somebody lit some fires first responders showed up to put out the fires, and somebody opened fire on them. There was a lot of misinformation right out of the gate. There was a lot of people saying that 8 to 10 firefighters and ambulance workers had been shot, and a couple of cops, that there was multiple shooters,
Right.
All sorts of different misinformation that was coming out. We have since, our Sheriff Norris, our local county sheriff, who I'm a personal friend with, he actually had the third installment of doing a public
Like a press conference?
press conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Erin went down there, and she actually asked him one of the questions about our local helicopter, and why, if he thought that it would have helped in this situation had it not been grounded for political reasons. But he did a really good presentation of basically spelling out the details of what they know so far, or what they're allowed to say.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a 20-year-old kid named Wes Rowley, and it was only one shooter. And he showed video of what was happening, like all the body cam footage, and the drone footage of even Wes Rowley's deceased corpse after he self-inflicted gunshot wounded himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he had written letters to his father. He drew a bunch of really creepy pictures, kind of basically saying that all of this was premeditated. He lit the fires. They did have other people up there that they rescued and brought them out of the danger zone. Only tragically, 3 people first responders were shot. One of them survived, but is in very bad critical condition still. The other 2 did pass away, and our community came together very, very strongly for the families of these people. But as far as motivation goes, they think at this point he had gone to some fire facility to talk to them about becoming a firefighter. He wanted to become a firefighter, and he had gotten into an altercation with his boss at a landscaping company, and wanted to become a firefighter. And they kind of told him, like, well, you don't just get to be one, you've got to go through these rigorous steps and stuff, which, I guess what they were saying is that he was very agitated with their answers and very frustrated and left heated, and was not happy with the answers he got, that he couldn't just basically become a firefighter then.
Right.
He'd been living in the area for a while. He did have an apartment where they found a lot of these drawings and stuff, but they also found some in his truck. He did not come from New York. He actually grew up in California and had moved here to be near his real father. He did not care for his mother and stepfather because of their affiliation, or their affinity for Trump. They were Trump supporters, and he did not agree with that. So he did not care for them. But his real dad, he had affection for, and wrote him a letter. But he did not plan on surviving this altercation.
Okay.
So it was not a sniper rifle. It was not a long distance rifle of any kind. It was actually a shotgun that he did all this with. The details were pretty gory. The audio was pretty
harrowing.
I would say, yeah, harrowing would be the proper terminology for that. But yeah, it was a wild situation. And outside of that, that's pretty much all that they can give as far as details goes. They think that the motivation was that he was rejected by the fire department, which is why he opened fire on fire department, which is why everyone was like, the question that everybody had was like, why the fire department? Why, and it was almost entirely due to a 20-year-old not mentally well kid who decided to take out a revenge situation on people who rejected him.
So it was a tantrum to a lethal degree.
Yes. and at this point, that is what it is being reported as. There will probably be another press conference later on after the investigation is 100% wrapped up. Right now, they're still working on some other portions of it to make sure that they did a thorough job. But I would imagine that he definitely will be coming. Norris will be coming back with the final wrap up of it. But yeah. So that is the update. Tragedy based around, and I would like to know if there were SRIs involved, if the kid was on medications, because that tends to be the case in 99.9% of these cases. So I would like to know if he was on some type of behavioral modifying medications that seem to be the culprit in a lot of these things that don't make sense to the average mind, but when you're chemically imbalanced, you don't have the average mind. And these pharmaceuticals tend to be at the steering wheel of a lot of these situations. So, but yeah, really, really horrific thing and tragic thing for our community. We're still reeling from it, but that's the update so far.
Gotcha.
So, but,
well, yeah, it closes the gap on a lot of stuff that we did hear initially while it was going on. So I'm glad that she was able to get some closure to some of that, I suppose. I don't know if that's even the right word, but yeah, it's good that we can provide an update to a more thorough degree. So
yeah. So, all right. Now that we got that out of the way, we can move on to some movie reviews. And I'm really excited for yours because I don't get to go to the theater often. I kind of wait for everything to stream now.
Yep.
But you got to go to the theater for this one. And I'm pretty excited about it.
I saw F1. The theater experience is becoming not what I remember it every time I go. Right. I was, again, like the only one there. Me and my neighbor Walter went, which was cool.
Oh, you went with Walter?
I went with Walter. I think last one we went to go see in theater was Dune as well. But yeah, so I saw F1. It stars Brad Pitt. It has all of the real race car drivers in it, and they're not actors to a degree. They're mostly like background characters, but the way they shot this, and it's done by the same guy that did the Top Gun Maverick movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The way they shot this was super cool. They put them in race cars. They actually went to real race events and used footage they captured there for the real race. And then they had like 10 minutes between free practice to actually shoot the movie scenes for it and stuff. So it was like really cool how they were able to edit this together to make it look like it was part of the whole story. We see a kind of a different Brad Pitt. Like, he's quite a bit older now. He's kind of, I don't know how to equate him to maybe like who's the guy in The Color of Money? Opposite
Paul Newman?
Paul Newman. He's kind of like the Newman cool guy old now.
Okay,
where like he's still got it. Like, girls are still like, oh my god, it's Brad Pitt. And you still have all that. He has an age appropriate love interest in the story, which is always fun. So that was cool to see. But just
I like this transition of Brad Pitt going into his Paul Newman era.
Yeah, and really embracing it, because
good.
He loves cars and motorcycles and stuff, and never really got to do a cool race car movie and stuff. And the fact that they even greenlit this is kind of something else. I think this is an Apple Films movie. So they threw a ton of money at it. But it was super well put together. Like, his dialogue is very, I don't know, it almost like he talks like he's mumbling a little bit, where he just kind of has a real tight jaw the whole time he has stuff. Then you see him in an interview and he's talking like a regular human being. So it's not like there's a health concern. It's just, he was a choice for the movie, which I think is kind of interesting. But the whole thing, top to bottom, it takes you out of like like in Top Gun Maverick where they had the real world conflict, but it was completely removed. It was like the enemy, the target, you know, enemy 5th-gen fighters. It doesn't call out Russia or an actual country. Similarly in Formula One, like we get the real race car teams, but like besides the real city that they're in, not much of it is like actually calling out a particular constructor or manufacturer, any of that stuff. The story's really fun. It's really good. We get to see the names and I are escaping each other tonight. The guy from No Country for Old Men, he played Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem is like bringing Brad Pitt into his race organization because they have to get stuff done, and if they don't have enough points or investors, then they're not going to have a race organization. And like they know each other from years ago. But the historical footage they cut in and how they made Brad Pitt look like he was actually there racing against some of the greats throughout the history of the sport when he was an upstart rookie and all this stuff. The cinematography is second to none, even if you're not into cars. Like it's unbelievable. The locations they shoot at, the way they block and frame stuff. The story is just a pure human nature story. The love interest is the same. Everything is super well done, and it was just a really fun film to sit down and watch where you didn't feel some kind of way about the sport of racing or Brad Pitt's character or the message they're trying to sell you. It was just, let's make cinema centered around this sport with some really good actors and a really fun story through line with badass cinematography at every layer of the film. And I mean, 9 megs for me. It was that good. Like it was so much fun. And I am a huge Formula One fan. I love open wheel racing. Like all that stuff is near and dear to my heart, but they couldn't have picked a better cast for this. It was really, really well done. It was really good.
You've sold me because I'm not, as you know, I'm not a car aficionado.
Like, yeah, they could have done this about BMX bikes and it would have been just as, you know what I mean? Like cars were kind of like the universe we're in, and that's why we're here, but it wasn't like the focal point of the movie is like the engineering intricacies of making a better race car. So for that and other reasons,
the type of film I like.
Yep. For that and other reasons, it could have been Top Gun Maverick 2, and they just threw Brad in there for a lot of reasons. Not saying it's the same film, but like it.
Yeah.
The innocuousness of where they're at, like it was really good. I had a ton of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll definitely keep that on my radar for sure.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to streaming, it'll probably come to Apple TV first if it's not already there.
I'd imagine.
But I would imagine that it'll have to hit some of the other streaming services. It was a big hit.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah, definitely a big movie. It was either that or there was another one out that I was kind of interested in seeing at the same time. And can't remember what it was, but I kind of don't give a shit about Jurassic Park, so I was like, I'm just.
Are you Superman? Was Superman?
That's Superman. That was it. Yeah, I was like, I'm interested because it's mixed reviews, but people that like the same types of movies I like said it was a lot of fun and really good. So
Oliver said he saw both Jurassic, the new Jurassic World one, and the Superman one, and he and his girlfriend absolutely love Superman.
Cool.
And they said that they're like, it was the same movie. Like we've seen Jurassic World, you've seen this one, and it was weird and like, but
there's playing all the hits and like dinosaurs.
And they're like, the only difference is that Scarlett Johansson was in this one instead of Chris Pratt or whatever. So, but yeah.
Nice.
So, well, cool. 9 megs, man. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was nice. I would rate Top Gun Maverick 9 megs as well because that movie was awesome. Yeah. And I'd never expected that Jennifer Garner would still be, or Jennifer whatever. What's her name? Not Jennifer Garner. Love interest in Maverick.
Jennifer Connelly.
Connelly. I'd never expected her to be as hot as the day I first laid eyes on her years and years ago, and she's still there. And still amazing. Yeah. So good times were had by all.
Well, I saw two films, one last week, and then I watched one the other night from a recommendation. And it had been on my radar anyway, because I kind of like these weird films. But the first one I watched was from the writer Nick Frost. And if you know Nick Frost, he's the British comedian actor who often is teamed with Simon Pegg.
Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz.
Right.
Let's go.
Right. So, and it's a British dark comedy, folk horror kind of scenario where this middle-aged British couple who have like what seem to be, I don't know, late teens, early 20s kids, a son and a daughter. And it starts off with them driving in the countryside of Sweden. And the movie's called Getaway.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going on what seems to be a reoccurring themed vacation where the parents pick some type of historical place that has some kind of like weird folklore-y thing to it, right? And then they go there and they involve themselves in the festival of the folklore. Yeah. And the kids are just like, here we go again, kind of attitude, right? And they're a chipper couple that are just like, you know, come on, everybody, come on, kids. And the kids are giving them crap and they're just like, oh, well, that's the kids kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Well, they go to this a remote getaway on an island in Sweden, where there was this history based around the fact that this island got quarantined off from the mainland because the mainland was going under there was some type of plague going on.
Wow.
And that it was actually the British that were just cutting them off, and then they ended up going into survival mode because their supplies were being cut off from them, and then the village survived a kind of cannibal holocaust that they went through. And they thought this would be a really fun place to take the kids for their festival that they kind of commemorate their survival as a community through that every year. And they have this big play that they put on, and they wanted to go see this play and all this stuff. So they go, and all of the community basically is these sullen Swedes that are just like, you can't go there. And they all have kind of this ominous feel to everyone that they come in contact with. And it's like Nick Frost being Nick Frost and chipper about everything. Like, oh, why not? You know?
Yeah.
And then they get to this island.
The Swedish heralds of apocalypse are standing in front of Nick Frost, warning not to go into Chernobyl. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, they get on the ferry to go to this island, and all the people on the ferry are just like ominously, like kind of beaten, like hardened Swedish people that are all, you know, and they're kind of very nervously being watched by all these people. And they get there, and the guy who rented them the Airbnb is being chastised by the whole village in front of them by, why did you invite these outsiders? They're not supposed to be here. Right. And he goes, because it's my house and I can do what I want. And you kind of get set up into this situation where it's almost kind of like the Wicker Man Island kind of scenario where they're all in weird costumes and there's like ominous stuff going on. But they set up a series of different individuals on the island or off island and different characters. Like the guy who rented them the Airbnb is like a super pervy dude whose mom died. And he has her house, and there's secret mirrors and cameras and stuff in the house where he's watching the daughter, you know. Yeah. And so you get different characters throughout that you get set up to try to basically come up with the island murder whodunit. Mm-hmm. And all the while, this family kind of bumbling through it, trying to, as people are dying and things are happening, and you get to a certain point where you're like, it could be any one of these people. And then there is just one of the best like twists and turns to this storyline, and I loved it. I loved it. It was such a fun, weird kind of take on this kind of genre that I absolutely adored it. And then it only got funnier and better from there, from the twist. And so I highly recommend it if you're okay with this kind of genre, because there are some pretty gory parts, but it's like it's Shaun of the Dead gory. It's
Sure.
kind of campy gory, you know. So and it was a gem of a like dark comedy folk horror. And so I would probably give this, I'm gonna say 8 mags.
Nice.
And just because I didn't see it coming, the twist, and it was so well handled, and the writing was so fun. There was a few parts in it that kind of were slow or uncomfortable, but I think that was kind of the point, to kind of draw you into this kind of seafaring Swedish kind of island town that doesn't really have a lot going on, and you kind of have to feel that for the story to kind of to move forward. But it was a good time. It was a good film.
Nice.
So I would say 8 megs on that guy. And then oddly, the next movie I watched was also set with a family who are driving through the countryside of Sweden. Like it just seemed to be a theme, but and it was another quirky film. It's called Death of a Unicorn, and it was written and directed by Alex Sharfman. But it stars Paul Rudd as the dad and Jenna Ortega as his daughter, and it's got a really great other cast of Will Poulter and Tia Leone, and
all these driving movies because you don't have your car back. It's like,
I think so. Yeah, but it starts off with them driving through the Swedish countryside, and it's a father and daughter who they're going to a nature preserve that this super ultra rich family owns. This full nature preserve in Sweden with their big illustrious house in the middle of it, and they're going there for a job interview, essentially, for him. He already works for the company. They've known him for a long time. He's their lawyer. Well, his boss and the father of this family is dying. He's on oxygen. He's got cancer. He's not going to live. And so basically they're trying to interview him to see if he is appropriate to make a partner with the trust of the family in order to take care of his family, which will make him super rich. And he is looking forward to kind of setting the groundwork for this. But they requested that he bring his family, who his only family at this point is his daughter, Jenna Ortega, who is kind of a scroungy kind of punk rock girl with a nose ring and some acne, and very sarcastic, super leftist, ideals. And she's kind of being drug along on this, even though she doesn't want to go. But you realize that they are trying to mend things because his wife, her mother, has passed away, and they're trying to like gel a relationship, and he thinks that this is going to help. And so on the way up to this house, right in the opening scenes of the movie, his allergies, and he's sneezing, and he ends up hitting something in the road, smashing the car, spinning them around, and they come out, and it's a weird looking horse with a horn on its head. And they're like, what did we just hit? And of course the bleeding heart daughter's like, oh, freaking out. And he's like, oh, how am I going to explain this? I'm going to be late, all of this stuff. But he's like worried for the animal. And she goes in, and the horn starts to glow, and she grabs the horn, and it like launches her into this cosmos, like psychedelic, like connection, and she's launching through through space and time. And she's having this epiphany moment, and then she gets brutally taken out of the epiphany moment by her father, Paul Rudd, beating this thing to death with a tire iron, and just purple blood splattering everywhere, right? And she gets some on her face.
Yeah.
And he he gets some on him too, and then they just stuff the corpse into the car and then limp the car to where he needs to go. And then this thing basically, the interview's going horribly because these people are atrocity human beings of just like self-centered, horrible, rich white people, right? And the
trust fund people.
Trust fund people, and Will Poulter plays the trust fund son to Tia Leone and this other actor, and the other actor being Richard Grant plays Odell the dad. So and they realize that in the interview, things start going very sideways, and the help at the mansion starts to look out the window, and the thing didn't die, and it starts trying to kick its way out of this car.
Yeah.
And as it crushes its head through it, one of the security people shoots it in the head and kills it again. And so when they bring it in, they bring it inside, and they're trying to decide what to do, and she tells them that she has a connection with it, and they realize that her acne was gone, and that the blood had cured her acne. And the rich dying guy goes, "Oh, I have an idea. This thing is special, and I can probably not die by harvesting something from it.
I'm going to eat the weird horse." Yeah.
Well, they have this team of weird scientists that start dissecting it in a lab, and like start trying to figure out what to do, and they crush some of the horn down, and like he starts like injecting it, and like it cures him, and now they're deciding, okay, how do we replicate this to cure cancer and become super trillionaires? And all the while Jenna Ortega is like, you can't do this, and the dad's like, hey, be quiet, I'm trying to get this job, and and they're like, well, we can't, the scientists are like, we can't replicate it, so this is all we have, this corpse. So
to make as much glue as you can and grind up whatever you can into gas station stamina pills.
But then they start calling in all their billionaire friends who have illnesses and stuff.
Sure.
And we can sell it to them, and it'll just be the elites that have this, no one else.
Beautiful.
And so it's kind of this,
so like, there's no message warfare in this film at all, is there?
Right, not at all. And so there's like, but wrapped up around it is this bizarre story, because then you find out that unicorn was just the baby. And there's this tapestry that she finds that I actually know this tapestry. I've actually tattooed this tapestry, and everybody's probably seen it, of the unicorn from medieval times that is in the circular pen, and there's like woodland stuff around it, right? Well, that's one of multiple tapestries that tells you that this creature is actually not a majestic, just peace-loving, beautiful little last unicorn horse in the woods. It's actually a like raging monster that kills and eats people. And that anyone who tries to capture it or kill it, and they can't be killed, so they can regenerate. But only if a good-hearted fair maiden can actually capture them. And of course, Jenna Ortega, good-hearted fair maiden. But these two raging
bleeding heart even.
Yeah, raging unicorn monsters that have like fangs and like are just demon horses come and start slaughtering everybody in the most gruesome of ways.
It's incredible.
And to get to their baby. And it was outside of it was obviously trying to not only tell you a message on the surface. I tried to look into it to see, because I felt like they were trying to relay something else through metaphor of what was going on with the unicorns and everything. It had a weird feeling to it. The whole movie had a weird feeling to it. And
not just the mescaline undertones or any of that.
Yeah. Okay. And I absolutely actually very much enjoyed the movie, even with this like looming sense of like, what are you trying to preach to me?
Right.
And that later on we'll probably discover that it had some other deeper message of something that I fundamentally am against, but I could not figure the puzzle out for the fact that it was a fun movie where unicorns were stabbing people through glass windows and chewing out the guts of Tia Leone on a grand piano. Like just amazing footage, hilarious.
Nice.
And Will Poulter was actually one of the better characters. This like horrible human being, but he was so funny. I really, really actually enjoyed it. Now, would I recommend it to everybody? No, but it kind of scratched a weirdness itch that I like in movies.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that I would probably give it 6.5 with a toothy end
Sure.
of Megs.
Okay.
But it was fun, and I think that for a particular audience, it's probably going to become a cult classic. Paul Rudd was weirdly not the Paul Rudd that you have come to enjoy in most films. He was kind of subdued and more of a background kind of Paul Rudd than he was like normally kind of like the star of the show, right? Other performances definitely outshined Paul Rudd in this. Jenna Ortega was I've never liked her in anything, so not really my cup of tea. I think she just is who she is.
I don't care for most of her movies. I thought she killed it in Wednesday, but other than that, like whatever. And I watched Wednesday because of Tim Burton, not because I'm interested in a tween high school drama. Right. And for that, it was like the effects were sick. Like it was really well done. But I could take Jenna Ortega or leave her. I don't know where she came up from. Probably a Disney star or a High School Musical somebody or something. But yeah,
right.
That's fun.
If you want to watch a movie where a trust fund kid grinds up the horn of a unicorn and snorts it, this is your film. So, but 6.5 megs.
6.5 megs to the end. Better or worse than Cocaine Bear?
Actually, I like this better.
Okay. Better or worse than Boy Kills World?
Worse.
Okay.
Boy Kills World definitely takes it.
We're in that weird cinema scape, but that's fun.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was oddly my trip to Swedish cinema the last couple of weeks. I don't know why they both were in Sweden, but yeah, super weird.
Well,
but
here we are again. Gospel by Gen Z. It's happening.
Excellent.
We're at chapter 48, the crucifixion. It's Alonso Cano's Oil on Wood, if you're curious about the artwork for this page.
Oh, wow.
Which we've seen.
Beautiful.
The crucifixion. So Holy Bro went out carrying his own cross, but when his body was lacking, Simon of Cyrene carried. Now the whole chat filled up as he went, and it was filled with holy girlies in their fields for him. When Holy Bro got to the place called just Skull and Crossbones, he made a sign for him that said, just a crown with a pumped up arm. And it was written in tomato and also in robot and also in window. The Karens in the chat were saying, pick a struggle, lil bro. Let the top G pull up and save him. 3 skulls. So the guards let him come up and clutch for himself. And they nailed Holy Bro to a cross at about 9 a.m. So he said to the top G, forgive them their L's, for they've been gaslit by the op of ops. Now the 2 thieves were also about to be unalived, and they were also firing shots saying Bruz and L. But one of them said, hey, yo, wait a minute. Bro's actually valid. And he said, Jesus, you dropped this crown. And Sacred Blood said, today we vibe, bro. Then at noon daylight, he was caught lacking in 4K, for the sun said, not gonna lie, this ain't y'all, and noped out of there. And then the Holy Bro saw his mom there with his BSF, and he said, woman, behold your boy. And to his BSF, he said, let your mother be mothering. Sacred Blood said then, I'm thirsty. So they gave him some wine mixed with emotional damage. So when he tasted, he said, yeah, no, I'm good. Then Holy Bro snapped the Divine G, saying, it's a bunch of words in Greek that I can't read. Oh, Aramaic, which is Aramaic for, but like why though, dude? So bystanders didn't read the comments, so they said, LOL, what bro's calling Elijah? Wait, let's see, maybe Elijah will pull up. Then, knowing he had fully fulfilled the divine dad lore, Holy Bro posted the whole draft of his life and waited for it to upload to heaven. Finally, Holy Bro said, Father, into your DMs I slide my spirit. The way his soul left his body.
I think that's my favorite line of this whole book so far.
And I'm trying to hold it together. And he was no longer typing sad faces. The centurion who caught this in 4K was rizzed up in spirit and said, wait, bro really was him. Investing it like 7 likes. For many real ones were there at the foot of the cross. Mary his mother, Mary her sister, Mary Magdalene, and some other Marys. Then everyone left the chat and went offline. For they were in their fields because of all these things. Joseph of Arimathea, a real one, gassed himself up, went to Pontius and said, let me bury our boy Jesus. So Pontius said, bet. And some unkarens buried Holy Bro, and the girlie saw the garden he was planted in with much awe. Karen said, nah, put the guards there too, because they're all sus. So Pontius again said, bet. Then they sealed up the tomb so no one could secure the bag and stationed NPCs outside it as guards. Mission failed successfully. 3 strong arms.
Oh man, they are closing this thing up strong.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my favorite one. That was my favorite one.
Into thy DMs I slide my spirit.
I'm gonna get that tattooed on me.
Oh man. So that is that's it for me for this week. There's a lot going on, man.
That was a lot.
A lot of catching up to do.
For sure, but we did it. We caught up, and next week we will be back because now we've got all the bugs figured out.
Yeah.
And yeah. So,
Yeah.
cool.
Sorry about that, everybody.
And I'm not traveling anywhere, so we should be good to go.
Beautiful. Well, I suppose for Angel, I'm lucky we will see you all next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Be sure to hit us up in the social medias.
Yeah.
We've got Facebook, we've got X, we've got on YouTube, like anywhere that you can find us, send us messages, talk to us, let us know what you guys want to hear from us. I'll be monitoring that over the course of the week. Hopefully we can get some, we've got some guests possibly lined up that I would like to start talking to some folks about particular topics. But we're not going to make any announcements until they're solid.
Yeah.
So, but as far as just communicating with us, we'd love to hear from you. And leave those comments, and let's get some traction with ideas, things that you guys want to hear. So, but anyway,
relevant stuff.
I'll be down there also in the Vegas area, August 21st through the 26th. So I'll be at Mad Monk Tattoo if anybody is looking to get some work done while I'm in the Southwest region.
Sick. Alrighty, friends. We will see you next time.